You know, this is not being safe for anyone.
I know it is.
Okay, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
That works, just I feel like it's a being safe.
Good evening. Thanks so much for coming, both here in person and on Zoom. For those who don't know me, which I'm not sure is anyone in the room here, I'm Eli Maria. I grew up in this community just a couple blocks down in JR Bayit. And it's for me, I can already say for me personally, really, really meaningful to be here with all of you here and Rosh Hashiva and Asaf Roseth, also traveling together from Efrat. And when this whole war broke out on October 7th, it saw my surprise in a lot of different ways. I'm sure we have a lot of different ways that we could describe the emotional roller coasters that we've all gone through over the past 2+ months. But at some point along the way, with Noam, I sent with Noam a bunch of pictures from the rally in DC and the way in which the American Jewish community was rallying together, both for what was transpiring in Eretz Yisrael and Israel, and also as a result of everything that's been happening here and everything that we've been hearing from Israel about all the different dynamics and political, social, and all sorts of different really existential dynamics and challenges that we presented to the Jewish community here in America. And so Noam took that to heart. Noam turned to me and said that this war is an opportunity and an invitation to be thinking about both each sort of on their own sides of the globe, the Jewish identities that we've been cultivating both in Israel and Israel and here in America, and to be rethinking and reimagining and resharpening the relationships between those two communities, relationships between the state of Israel, the Jews living in the state of Israel, and the American Jewish community, which has been for so many years here. In some ways based in New York, but obviously across all of America. And we thought that it would be really, really meaningful for us to take a trip here to come and to visit with American communities across the East Coast. And what better place to start is our first mifgash? What better place to start than at home in Hyatt? We are really excited for a beautiful night together of singing, sharing a little bit of Torah, and also just beware, we will also open it up to the crowd to hear and sort of assess people's experiences and people's thoughts about what's been happening, what's transpired over the past month plus or 2 months plus since the war started. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Rav Noam. Another song, and then we'll move into some of the content of the evening. But again, thank you to everyone for coming, and hopefully it should be really meaningful for all of us.
I'm really very excited to be here. First, and apologize for my very Israeli English. No, I'm sure. And thank you everyone for coming here. And thank you for sending Ellie. It's really a great opportunity. And I must admit that we're heavily jet lagged. And for me, it's really a very confusing moment. My son, my eldest son, and his friends are in Gaza right now. And I lost my nephew 46 days ago in Gaza. And I'm not sure what am I doing here. What brought me here with this very complicated time. But as Ellie said before, we felt very strongly that this is the time to come. If there's something that we can learn from Parashat HaShavua, from Parashat Vayeshev, and Parashat Miketz, is that when you suffer after Yosef is thrown to jail, this is a time for brotherhood. This is a time to meet your brothers, try to connect brothers. And we came here in order to meet, to connect, to rethink. I think that this is a moment to rethink the Judaism, the Jewish people, to rethink the Israeli existence. We need a new story now. And I think that we must create this story together as a new story of the Jewish people. And we felt that this is a place to start. So just where to start with. And we really want to hear. We're here not just to say words of Chizzuk, but to sing together, and to sing here with you and with Ellie, and to try to find new ways together. It's our mission here. So, let's see one more song. And then we will continue.
Actually, as I hear you talking, I go back to being a kid in 1973. I wrote this melody. Ki lo yitosh Hashem amo, nachlato lo ya'azor. Hashem will be there for us in a time when we desperately need Hashem. It's a melody that became known. Mordechai and David made it very famous. And remember when our daughter was in Russia on Yom Ha'atzmaut, she called me from the roof overlooking their Kazarat and said, "Oh, they're singing your song." So, you know the melody from Glory Doors? Maybe. One pasuk, פרשת השבוע. אתם חשבתם עליי רעה, אלוהים חשבה לטובתו. Yosef said to his brothers, you thought that would be Yosef, and others thought. God, he has his perspective. I ask myself now, how can we see the situation from God's perspective? How can we say, Elohim chashava l'tova? If we can say. But here Yosef, the ability to say these words, Elohim chashava l'tova. I thought that Yosef learns to look from other perspectives. I'm pretty sure that when Yosef was in jail, he forgot his dreams. You can believe in prison that one day he will be the king of Egypt. One day he will be his brothers, and his father and his brothers will come to see him in Egypt. And I think that the moment that started to change is when he suddenly heard
this language of dreams from Sarah Mashkim and Sarah Ophir. Suddenly he hears someone that again speak about dreams. And this moment when you listen to others' dreams, not your dreams, this is a moment of change for yourself. When he suddenly hears the dreams of Sarah Mashkim and Sarah Ophir, and later he hears the dreams of Paro. And in their dreams, in the dreams of Paro, in the dreams of Sarah Mashkim and Sarah Ophir, we find his dreams, the way that his dreams will come true. I think that this is maybe the way to look from that perspective. When you start to listen to others' dreams, not just to your dreams. You start to listen to the dreams of your brothers. You can recreate the conversation with your brothers. This is a moment when you stop thinking just about your dreams. You start to look from a higher perspective. And then you can say, Elohim Chashava L'Tova. You can see from God's perspective. You can see the situation. Okay, I can see it from another point of view. Maybe for me, for us, this is the point to start. What Ali said is the beginning. We came here to share dreams about the Jewish story. We really want to hear you. I know what is an Israeli dream. I'm not sure that I know what is a Jewish dream. And now I think there are moments that these stories, the Israeli story and the Jewish story, are really very connected now. We feel, all of us feel the deep connection to what happens in Israel. And we also feel the connection to what happens here. And suddenly our story in Israel is not just the Israeli story, it becomes the Jewish story. We ask ourselves, what is the story? We don't know yet what story will be. So we came here to hear you and share dreams and hope that if we can bring together and listen to each other's dreams, maybe we can say, Elohim Chashava L'Tova. Maybe we can see his point of view. Maybe we can get his perspective and understand that really Elohim Chashava L'Tova, a new story will come from this situation. Maybe. And I'm just
Before we open it up and offer people the opportunity to share a little bit about what they feel. First of all, I grew up on Irigunim and stuff like that. So. When you started Gankia, I thought you were going to start one.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe we'll get to that later. I feel sitting here in this room, in addition to many of the experiences that I felt over the past 2+ months, I keep coming back to the Torah that I heard very, very early on in the war. The Torah says when it discusses when it discusses the Jewish people going out to war, that there are all sorts of people that are actually meant to not go out, they're meant to go back home. One category of people are people who have some unfinished business in their lives. They were just recently engaged and did not yet have the chance to get married. They just built or bought a new house, didn't have yet a chance to have a Hanukkah bite. They just bought or readied their new field or their new vineyard and have not yet had a chance to reap the benefits of that vineyard, all those people are meant to go back. That's all category number one. Category number two is Hayarei V'Rach HaLevav, the fearful and the soft-hearted. That person is also meant to go back. And the simple shot in the Torah, it says explicitly, is that that person is going to lower the morale of the army. So to go out into war with this fearful, soft heart, practically it's not a good match for what the army needs at that moment. Chazal, in their interpretation of all the dinim of milchama that come up in the Torah, they contextualize all of those halachot to be within the context of what's called milchemet reshut. Milchemet reshut, where the Jewish people go out to a war to conquer more land. There's all sorts of different descriptions and categories of milchemet reshut. But in milchemet mitzvah, the Mishnah says, "Hakol yotzin afilu chatan michedro v'kala mikupata." Everybody, there's a sense in which the entire nation is, the Hebrew word is miguyas. The entire nation is enlisted into the army. It's actually interesting there that chatan michedro and kala mikupata, a sense in which there's no gender distinction there either. The entire nation, everybody is moving out into some form of service during the milchemet mitzvah, including hayarei ve'arach halevav, including the fearful and the soft-hearted. And the question that is commonly asked is, I understand all the other categories, the person who just got engaged, et cetera, et cetera. We can't afford to not have these people go out to war. They need to be going out to war in this time. It's a milchemet mitzvah. Everybody needs to be going out. But the question is about hayarei ve'arach halevav. Why does that person still go out? In theory, the reason for them not going out should still apply. They should still be lowering the morale of the army. And practically speaking, maybe it's still not a good idea. And there's all sorts of different answers to that, but I heard a beautiful answer from a rabbi who currently is serving in Gaza, on the Gaza border right now. His name is Yossi Gamliel. And he said that what I thought to be such a powerful Torah, and also what I feel like is in many ways the energy that's filling the room here, is that for milchemet mitzvah, the svara, the reasoning actually is meant to be a fuch. It's meant to be the opposite. That there's a sense in which we are all hayarei v'arach halevav in milchemet mitzvah, in the sense of a moment for our nation that is captured by the very, very legitimate and forefront existential threat that we feel. And that existential threat can be in Eretz Yisrael and Medinat Yisrael, and it's a very, very real danger and trauma that was felt by the entire nation of Israel after October 7th. And there's a sense in which my experience of that feeling goes way far beyond the physical war that's happening in Israel, and it goes so as to, in my opinion, to describe in what in many ways is a feeling of fear, a feeling of question, a feeling of not knowing what to do next, not necessarily having the answers. There's so many hard questions that are coming up throughout this whole story for the Jewish people. And in many ways, I feel personally that I am Yarei V'Rach Halevav. I feel like I am filled with fear, I'm filled with a soft heart, I'm filled with questions, I'm filled with doubt, and I'm filled with sadness and anger and an inability to wrap my head around all the different ways of thinking about this. And in many ways, I feel that is, in some sense, maybe the air that's being filled here, and in some ways describe that air as an air of Hayarei V'Rach Halevav and soft heart. And with that, we'd love to open it up and to hear some of people's experiences. What has this whole crazy 2+ months been like from this perspective, from the perspective of New York Jewry, from American Jewry, and maybe to build off of Noam's idea, to think a little bit about dreams, think a little bit about the dreams for American Jewry, think a little bit together about the dreams for Jewry in general. Where does this story take us, and where does the relationship between Medinat Yisrael and Israeli Jewry and American Jewry take us? What does Medinat Yisrael mean for Israeli Jews? What does it mean for American Jews? What does it mean for the Jewish story? And how are we all thinking about this as individuals and together as a community? I offer in Yeshivat Siach, when we open up, we do this very often, when we open it up to the crowd, it happens very often that we wait even a minute in silence for
Just a
people.
minute?
Be much more than that. So offer opportunities for people to gather their thoughts and to share a little bit about what we've been discussing and trying to think about
We
together.
need a word for it, seven. In Yeshivat Siach, when we do something like that, anyone has to say something. Anyone in the problem. Seven. But I don't know how to translate seven.
Go around the circle.
Yeah.
But it's your popcorn.
Hopefully, but you know, not everyone here must speak, but you can.
So one of the first things that I certainly experienced and feelings of is that it's been quite many times is you basically learn who your friends are and who your enemies are. You know, especially here within people you might have felt close to who didn't say anything after October 7th or said things that were extremely negative. You learn who those people were, and at the same time, you actually found out people who, I mean, for me, for example, I had some colleagues who I hadn't seen for from prior jobs or hadn't heard from, and then suddenly they reached out and said, "I hope your family's doing okay because I know your family lives in Israel." And so, I think it just became, unfortunately, a divide between the people that you didn't think would stand up for you that now did, and those you thought would who didn't. And certainly, we've started to see that certainly expand as the months have rolled on, as to how people's feelings are. On college campuses, you've seen it all around, but certainly, certainly those are things that I've felt over the last, couple of months.
What I've really felt most, I think, is anti-Semitism, not personally, but that everything that maybe was kept below the surface, now people seem to have a reason or rationale to let it rise to the top and let it come out. You're seeing it more and more. I don't think it's new. I think it was just there. It was sort of maybe suppressed is the right word. Contained and then overflowed.
Hi everyone, I'm Johnny Nolman, good friend of Eldaria from a while back, since fourth grade. I think there's on a negative side, I think one very practical thing is helplessness and also fear. Even going to work every day and going on the subway, you don't know who your enemy is anymore. We used to be oh, why would I be scared of a random Harvard college student? But now you don't know. So that's a very practical thing. But then on the positive side, the Jewish Union has been insane in America. I'm sure in Israel even more. But our first week, for example, after it happened, we had a Kabbalah Shabbat where I lived in Teaneck, and he actually led it, and it was the most insane thing I've ever been a part of in my entire life. It was everyone in our community came to this one shul, and we were dancing and singing, and it was something I never experienced. And I've had a number of those experiences post October 7th in American communities.
Just got to say something about the Israeli experience, and I got at least the feelings, what my family and so, and this is so important. The feelings of there is a partnership, and there is a brotherhood. And all of those who came to make barbecue to the soldiers and so, but it's not that, it's just donations and the meat for the soldiers. It's mainly that the feeling that this is a Jewish story. And this feeling in Israel is very strong now. Also, I'm not sure that we are more united than we were before. And this is very disturbing. So I don't know where we will be the day after. And everyone asks himself what will be the day after the war. And Bibi, not Bibi, and left wings and small wings and religious and non-religious. And as you know, the situation is very, very complicated and polarized. And so, but I think that everyone feels that the Jewish story and the Israeli story somehow became much more connected, also in Israel. Became very clear that who is your enemy and who is your friend, not just in a very simple way. And so, thank you everyone for your support and partnership. Also, give.
I think in the period before the war started, certainly for myself, was a very difficult period in which I spent a lot of time thinking about the differences between so many different parts of the Jewish people, painfully. So I was very aware that it was very hard for me to think about how I was the same, what points in common we had. And I think what's happened subsequently because of the war is I'm finding myself thinking very hard about the points we have in common, how we're connected despite the differences, and despite the fact that there will be many differences, as you just said, politically and otherwise. But this is shining a light, or forcing us to at least take a look at how we are connected, what we do have in common, which I think is essential to build going forward.
Elaborating on that, it's almost like we create divisions and boxes, and we try to explain away our position between me and others, but ultimately, time and time again, history brings us back to this idea that we are one. And I also felt that very keenly. And I think connecting to the idea of this dream, you have the dream, but you want someone to unlock the code of what it means, and we're not getting that. It's almost a very internal process of surrendering with equanimity to the process of understanding the dream is playing itself out. And it's not just trust the process, but trust the dream process that is Hashem bringing this. And it's hard, it's scary, but you try to kind of step back and keep bringing yourself back to that. At times, it's the only thing you can have.
I connected to
Just sorry, not asking for your names because I want to know that.
Brian, I connect through Tefillah And as we know, when the Yamim Noraim, on Rosh Hashanah, we read that it's written, and on Kippur, it's sealed, and on Hoshana Rabbah, it's finally delivered. And I tell you, on Hoshana Rabbah, I felt pretty good. I led davening here in Shul, and I felt pretty good on Hoshana Rabbah. And then the very next day, this whole thing exploded. And I feel like we failed. Like, I feel that there was some pagam, something in our davening, and like, you know, in the words of Natan Toka, the Tachtoch Kitzvah L'chol B'yotecha, Kitzvah B'gzar Dinam, and what happened on October 7th, and anytime, every day that we hear about another chayal, my heart sinks, and my heart, I feel like, I don't know, what could we have done differently? What could we have done better? Did we not have the right kavanah? Did we not take Yom Noraim seriously enough? What happened? And I always feel talking in a family about like having a do-over almost for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, almost like let's bring back the meaning of Yom Noraim. Let's like rekindle that, because it just the timing, and it just feels like we did what we could. Hamelech Basadeh, we thought he was there with us, and Pitom, it's not what any of us could have imagined.
I feel so much. I'm Chazan in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur also. And the Chazan in Yom Kippur, it's a yeshiva, and Rosh Hashanah in my place in Mukri, in Gush Etzion. And yeah, when we ended Yom Kippur this year, I felt that we didn't make it. I really had the feeling that we didn't make it. It was horrible. And later, all the Sukkot, I went with hard feelings that I had a shiur in Hoshana Rabbah, and the third was Asukah Shelanu Boel Bash. He's burning Boel Bash. Because that was my feeling. We didn't make it in Hoshana Yom Kippur. And I think it's not just because we didn't pray enough, or didn't pray, the situation. You can't make it in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur if everything around is so open and polarized, and really, maybe something of Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. Fix a little of Rosh Hashanah. Fix a little of Rosh Hashanah.
I'm not under Madriga by any means. And so one of the ways that's manifest is I thought we accomplished something on Rosh Hashanah. I was of the mistaken belief that our davening was so together and that we had reached the Kadosh Baruch Hu. I didn't feel that brokenness that prophetic brokenness that I should have intuited. And It's amongst the many, many, many indications that we just don't know. We just don't know. I want to say something maybe a little complicated in response to your dream, Torah. As you said, something happened in Yosef began to listen to others' dreams. Sarah, open. Others' dreams. And we're trying to figure out what our dreams are and what is the Jewish dream? What should the Israeli dream? Given where we are in this moment in history. But I couldn't help thinking when you said that, Torah, that we are in a situation where there is a very conflicting dream on the other side. There are dreams on the other side. And I don't know what to do with that. They declare that they are, Hamas has declared that they are our sworn enemies. But I can't just erase the awareness that there's a deeply conflicting dream, set of dreams in this small place. If we have to account, and maybe our dreams can only be achieved when we acknowledge and in some way deal with the conflicting dreams and confront that reality. They have dreams. Maybe a problem for us, their dreams.
My deep sorrow, I agree.
What?
My deep sorrow, I agree. Maybe their dreams now are more like nightmares than dreams. And started with the brotherhood. The brotherhood is of Yosef and his brothers. But the story of brotherhood is a brotherhood of time ahead. Later, the brotherhood of Yitzchak and Ishmael, Yaakov and Esau. This is the biggest story. All the parashot we just read. This is the hope that if we can fix our brotherhood, if we ended Yom Kippur with the story of Tel Aviv and you were there and happened in Tel Aviv and Yom Kippur and so maybe it's not a prophet telling about the situation that creates this feeling.
I'd like to say something about our brotherhood, which might be related to what you just raised, Bailey. I work in a school that's filled with diverse students, very diverse, because it's a special ed school, so nobody sends their kids for ideological reasons. They send their kids to the school so the school will teach them how to read and write. So there are boys with payas and there are girls with shorts and there are Syrian Jews and they have their own way of looking at things and there are the full range of students and they're all there in the same place. And that diversity is very difficult. It's very difficult. They're wonderful children and they're filled with blessings and capabilities and it's very, very hard to get them to consider ways of being that are different from what they're used to. And so, Reb Noam, I'm very glad that you mentioned your emails. We write many letters every week, and it's very meaningful and important. And and we know that those letters get to many places because we scan them and send them electronically, so they're instantly there. And we sing Hatikva at every opportunity and say Mishaberach at every tefillah every morning. And the children in the school feel that they're doing something important and there's focus. And I'm very worried about the unity that we enable ourselves to feel in a moment of crisis. Because under the surface of that unity are all those diversities. And they're really difficult. And if they're difficult between 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, they're difficult amongst adults. And I'm worried very deeply that that in a way it's a chisun, we inoculate ourselves against having to really look at and hold on to how different and how many diversities we are in what could otherwise be a very fragmented people. Because right now we're holding on to each other with authentic love and with feelings of closeness. But I'm worried that it's not the more authentic and lasting work that we need to do first amongst ourselves, even before we're able to then together recognize the dreams and potentials of cousins. So that's very much on my mind.
In Israel, one speaks about stem from English, Brit Torah and Brit Yehud, of salvation of English, Brit Torah. Brit Torah, Brit Yehud. When you say Brit Torah, and covenant.
Faith and a covenant of destiny.
Okay. And everyone speaks about that great needs to go from the destiny to from the faith to the destiny. And I'm afraid of it very much because but I think that when we jump to the faith, to the destiny, we may forget the diversity. We may forget the difficulties. We must learn not how to make a destiny, but how to listen. Before we go to the destiny, before we go to try to, we must listen to the dreams and not create them. Because if you just try to throw yourself to the destiny, you will find yourself deep down. So we can do this. That's what we do in the yeshiva all the time. We try to learn how to listen, learn how to speak this. So learn this language of dreams, of listen to other dreams. It's very complicated. Also, the 6th grade yeshiva.
So shifting gears a little bit, but reflecting on the past few months on campus, I think I'm maybe the only one who's on the campus here. So, and there's in my mind there's two, and I just finished the semester, Binghamton University. So in my mind, right, I just finished the semester a few days ago. There's sort of two ongoing, I would say, facts, thoughts, things that are sort of observations on campus since October 7th. both, which I think if you look at them side by side, fit into a Venn diagram where in the middle, there's something meeting there. And the first is right, the classic question that I get asked every single time I come home, or every time I see someone or speaking to someone, oh, how's your campus? How's the protest on your campus? How's the anti-Semitism on your campus? And like the questions circulate, okay, like how are the professors? How are the other students on campus? How are the rallies? How are all these things? Which is definitely certainly an aspect of like, okay, how is the aspect in terms of just the supporting Israel versus the against Israel, supporting Jews against Jews, sort of that dichotomy that's sort of seen on campuses, with the administrations, with the like the local officials, all those people who are sort of involved in that conversation, both on my campus and then talking to friends on other campuses. But at the same time, there's another conversation which is happening there, which is I think something that like is almost equally as important, which I've also seen, which I don't think hasn't necessarily been noted, been looked at as much, which is right. You had especially right in America, where we started to find out about things on the morning of Shmini Atzeret, where right, we were in our tefillot, and our rabbi had started to get news of what was going on. Sort of the joyful tenor sort of shifted in a way. And since then, right, we had been coming out of the Chadim, we were like, okay, finally about to go into news to a like out of the first like month of school, finally get into some structure, and then right, all this happens. And then I think since then you sort of have seen that like there's an acknowledgement of okay, who are the Jews on campus? Who are the people that like are coming to things that let's say weren't coming to things before? You walk around campus and see the person who's wearing a kippah is like, oh yeah, I wasn't wearing it last week. The person who was wearing the Israeli flag who didn't wear that last week. And also like tefillot for our JLIC rabbi, right? We have the OU JLIC at Binghamton, which is a very vibrant community there. Anyone who wants to come check it out is more than welcome. But they our rabbi left to go back to Israel because he was called up right after Simchat Torah ended. Within an hour, he was already on his way to the airport. And there was a week until Thanksgiving, those like 7 or 8 weeks, we had every Shabbat without an actual rabbi in our Beit Midrash, and yet every one of those Shabbats I think was one of the most like each week was another like completely packed in the basement of their house there, and like you walk down the street and you could hear the singing like you could never hear that singing before. You could hear the like gathering that like, which is something I think which has also gone on in terms of okay, like yes, there's all that other noise, yes, there's all that other like okay, we want to focus on that, but there's also the focusing on which I think has also been there of people on campus who are all like, okay, what are we doing differently now? Maybe Judaism was like, okay, yeah, I'm checking off a box. Yeah, I'm also Jewish. So let's say I'm going to go to the Chabad, I'm going to go to the Koster Corner, but I'm also Jewish now, which means I'm going to participate in this community that we have.
So you say you tell the story. We'll finish with it. Yeah. Okay. Ellie asked me to teach reading. It's a river from it came from Breslau, but in Breslau tradition, it says that this is an eagle of Balshan. There is a long story about this Nigun. When the Baal Shem Tov went to Eretz Israel, he stopped for Leil Seder in Kushta, which we call the Istanbul. And there was I don't remember the story, but there was something that the Sultan wanted to kill the Jews in Istanbul, and in some way, in the Seder, the Iran somehow disappeared, and it happened because Baal Shem Tov, all the Seder is saying again and again, listening. ועושה נפלאות גדולות לבדו, כאילו עולם חסר. It's a wonderful book. It's amazing. It's in Shiva, we sing it a lot. So, ויוצא נפלאות גדולות לבדו, כאילו עולם חסר. ועושה נפלאות גדולות לבדו, כאילו לעולם חסר. Very simple.
Try it again.
ועושה נפלאות גדולות לבדו, כאילו לעולם חסר. That's the second part. Like a lot of Hasidic people, this new one has 3 parts. It's 4 parts. That's the last part. The 4 part is the second part again. Then you have 1, 2, 3, and 2 again. It's like Shema Baya, you take okay. Somebody says that this is the reason. But this is a very simple. So this is the third part. ויעשה נפלאות גדולות לבדו, כאילו לעולם חסר. ויעשה נפלאות גדולות לבדו, כאילו לעולם חסר. And again, the second part.
We're talking about Israel and Jewish, Jews in America. And I want to say and there's so many of us who have our children in Israel, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, that comes. And while we're not in the game, we're on the sidelines. I just want you to know that we're a little bit in the game. And we also don't sleep at night. Every chayal that gets hurt, it hurts us. And it's just that brings us.
We feel very good. Thank you very much, everyone. And, warmly invited to visit us in France next time to be in Israel.
You have Stephen for helping put together this event. All the way from the rafters.
I think we all thank you so much. We're very grateful. We can, in your honor, sing this and end the night. Thank you for giving us this.
Big lift. Yeah.
Which tune of Gakiela did you say you wanted him to do?
Oh.
So that's been killing me all night. Oh, you're keeping me.
I said,
Oh, yeah. It's a good real estate. You're Ellie's friend, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, got it. And your friends, yeah.
Yeah.
okay, great, great.
Great to see you.
All right.
Well, vacation. I know, Left at 5:30, got back at 3. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. People think. Wait. Hey, why do you wait, I'm so excited. But if it's a girl, like nothing. You always get so angry. That's the girl that Victoria's girl. So sexy. I feel like a kid. First quarter, you're at the right place. You're the right place. I know. My sister. Give this guy my sister. Very upset. Yeah, I think this is my first time even. Yeah, I did like 5. And her. Yeah. So. Yeah. I just.
I'll be on their behalf. This is Daniel Schwartz. This is worldly.
What? I know this is a podcast.
The genetics still not.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Dory, any second. Yeah, oh, you guys can see it. Yeah, you guys can see it.